Hello everybody, I am at the top of Aogashima. This is a sort of a vantage point, one of the highest points of the island where you can look down on the entire island. That there is Maruyama, which is this really unique looking volcano within the mountain. You can see all the Pacific behind me, which is pretty cool here. And the clouds also are all around the island, except for here. I've had sunshine for the entire time. You can see I'm gotten quite dark from being out in the sun all the time. I have a farmer's tan as well, which is pretty cool. I'm gonna go back to Tokyo, a country boy. I want to thank you all for writing in with the questions here. I have the Patreon app open right now, and I'm gonna go through your questions one by one. Solaires, how is life on Aogashima compared to other small towns or settlements you've been to on the mainland or in other Japanese islands? This one is really unique because first of all, there's no airport, so that makes this island very small. The only way to get here is either by boat, which is very infrequent and is often canceled because of the weather, or by helicopter. And the problem with the helicopter is you have to make a reservation a month in advance in order to get the helicopter. Of course, people are canceling all the time, but if you don't make it a month in advance, you can't be sure that you'll get a seat on it. Only 9 people are able to take the helicopter to get here, so there's not a lot of people coming and going to the island. That's the biggest difference. I guess there's lots of little small ones. This is the least populated town in Japan. There's only 160 people, only about 17 kids right now. So it's not a big town. In fact, everybody on the island after a few days knows about me, knows about what I'm doing here. I think I've met all of them at least once. So yeah, that's also been pretty cool. A tourist who comes here for one day probably is not going to get the same experience as I've had for being here for an entire week. I think it wasn't until after my 3rd day that I really started to get smiles and more locals talking to me and inviting me out and showing me things on the island. So whenever you are whenever you're traveling to a place that's local like this, you really should spend as much time as you can there trying to get to know the people, and that's been special. They don't have much commerce, meaning like the food here is just typical food. There's nothing really special about it because, again, it's only, I think, 2.5 kilometers by 3.5 kilometers, so it's not really a big island. There's not that much to it that's any different than Hachijojima, which is over in this direction, 80 kilometers away. But it's got that really friendly feel that all islands have, I think, which makes this a really special place to me. I've loved it. I've loved the time here. Linda B, what are some of the wildlife on the island, and do they have any rare species? No. There's no rare species. There's very little wildlife except for cats that are always roaming around the island, especially around the store. There's loads and loads of, there's nothing dangerous or deadly, no poisonous animals here, no poisonous insects, but lots of beetles flying around. Often they'll crash into my head, which hurts a little bit, but you know, it's part of life here on the island. Down there, I was down in the jungle early this morning, and I got bit by 1,000 mosquitoes and spiders too. There's all sorts of spiders. There's spiders about this big. Some of them are flat and kind of creepy looking, but all of them are very docile. They don't have, I mean, if they bite you, it'll hurt, but there's no poison. This is the opposite of maybe Australia. There's nothing poisonous or dangerous about this island, which makes this really an awesome island too, because you don't have anything to worry about. There's no crime. Nobody is going to like steal from you because they got nowhere else to go. They'll take from you, and then how are they going to get off the island? The helicopter, there's a police officer there. The port, there's a police officer there too. If you make a complaint, they're on the lookout for you. There's no way to really, there's no crime at all, which I really liked hearing about from the police officer, who I've made friends with too, which is really cool. The police officer, there's only one here. He used to work in the town that I live in now, and we had a lot of stuff to talk about in that area of Tokyo. So Linda, nothing rare on this island. Joanne, Firestar 17828. Are there different Japanese ethnicities, Ainu nationals or Koreans on the island? No, everybody is Japanese. Very few people were like second or third generation people here because the population was actually it's decreasing now. There's no ethnically different people, just Tokyoites. They call themselves, they would be Tokyoites, but very different. They're very friendly people. I don't think, yeah. There's one guy who works at one of the izakaya. He's Chinese, but he's pretty much Japanese. He's maybe Chinese ethnicity, but he's pretty much Japanese. He lived in Fukuoka before he came to Aogashima, so he makes great ramen, which is the only ramen on the island. You can get it at the izakaya, and there's only 2 izakaya on this island, which makes this pretty unique. So that's a great question, Jonathan Tan. What's the specialty food of the island? There's nothing special. There's no special foods. Ashtaba is a leaf that you'll find all over the island, and ashtaba is very unique to this. They call it ashta, means tomorrow, and ba is leaf. It's you pick the leaf and you can't eat that, but you come back the next day, tomorrow, and there'll be a new leaf there, and that's what you eat, the brand new leaves. So ashtaba is a unique food. There's passion fruit that they're growing down there, down in the jungle. They got all sorts of vegetables. A lot of the stuff that they import from abroad. Again, like import from not abroad, but from Tokyo, the mainland. It's just a 3.5 by 2.5 kilometer island, so it's not really big with its own culture. But they do have its own culture. It's not really gonna survive. There's maybe a few old timers who know how to speak the old languages and stuff, and I'm trying to get them to tell me a little bit about it. I'm actually having dinner with one of the guys who was second or third generation here on the island. He's gonna make me an Aogashima dinner, but I haven't asked him, so this is something I'm gonna ask him tonight. It's a great question, Jonathan. Alias Chansui. So, what's the dating scene like? Non-existent. People. I asked them about this the second night when I went out drinking with some people, and they were hesitant to talk about it. But a lot of people will meet people when they go to school in Tokyo. I think when you go to high school, you have to go to the mainland, or when you go to university, you go to the mainland, and then that's when you find somebody and they'll bring them back. I know Akira-san, who's the man I'm going to be having dinner with, he lived on the mainland for 20 years, and he came back because of family. His father was sick. I believe that's his story, and he came back, and now he has 5 jobs, which is crazy. So the dating scene is non-existent. I'm asking for a friend. Okay. On a more serious note, how do you handle natural emergencies like hurricanes? There's a typhoon coming right now, actually, and people are they've got boards ready, so they do what people do in Florida or all around the world do when there's a hurricane or a typhoon. They board things up, and they lock things down and make sure nothing flies away or nobody gets hurt. They stay indoors, and they try to stay in a safe area. The town itself is down underneath the island. It's still very windy, but it's somewhat protected. And it's definitely off of the sea, so they're not going to get waves crashing in, which is a good thing. This is not a flat island by any means. When there's earthquakes, the community is very small, and they all pull together and help each other, which I thought was which is a really great trait. Do they use geothermal power? Yes, no. Yeah. They use geothermal power for some things. I'm not really clear on that. I know that the water that they drink here on the island is rainwater. They drink rainwater that's purified and then sent back to the home. So I know that that's something that they use where they regenerate from nature. All the geothermal activities happening down there near the volcano by Maruyama. Maru means circle, and Maruyama they use. Which is interesting. I'll show you. You'll see it in the video when it comes out later this month. But the geothermal steam, there's lots of steam coming up out of the ground, and they found a way to harness that. And they put in 4 steamers, so you can bring food from the store and have your lunch. Just steam your lunch right there in a basket, which I thought was pretty cool. It's all natural. It's all from the ground geothermal energy. So I don't think it's used for power generation. I think they still get some supplies from Tokyo, but I'll ask about that for the video. James McLeanagan. James McLeanagan. Sorry if I butcher the names. What kinds of things do the locals do for fun or leisure? Izakaya, they go out drinking, or they go to house parties. I went to one house party the second night. I didn't film anything because I think that would have been weird to, you know, start putting a camera into people's faces that you met. But a lot of house parties. People don't have a lot of free time, really. Everybody seems to have 2 or 3 or 4 jobs. Akita-san, he works at the shochu factory. There's a shochu company here, Aochu, A-O-C-H-U. Aochu has about 12 or 13 people working there. So he works there. He's one of the head guys there. He also has his own cattle ranch, which is very small. I filmed the opening of the show there. He has a farm down here in the jungle, which he showed me today. He also works at the cement factory, and he also has a job with construction. So he's always doing multiple things, and he doesn't have a lot of free leisure time. So it's not like people on the island are just sitting back doing nothing and just relaxing. No, they're working pretty hard. The government also has offices here, so a lot of people have government jobs. So that was pretty interesting. The kids, there's a swimming pool. There's not much in the way of sports, but there's a festival coming up in the middle of August. I wish I was here for that, but all the people come back from the mainland back to Aogashima for that festival. So great question, James. Edward and Hila Goikman. Couldn't see any live streams from yesterday. Yeah, I only live streamed the first day, and it was 280p, and I got a lot of complaints about it, although it was pretty impressive that I could live stream anything. There's a relay satellite that relays it to 80 kilometers to Hachijojima, and then from Hachijojima, that's sent to Tokyo, and then from Tokyo, it was sent to everybody on Only in Japan Go. It's not great to live stream here. The best place would be from Hachijojima, where I can get 4G. This is like fake 4G here because it's very weak signal. Internet in general is pretty weak here. I wanted to upload the edamame video, which is the next video for the Only in Japan main channel, but it's had to wait for over a week now because the internet has been not ideal, which is good. I like to be off the grid a little bit. So great question, Edward and Hila. Jade Frijoles. In general, is it common for most Japanese families to have a Shiba Inu or Akita Inu? No. It's not common for Japanese families to have dogs in general, especially in Tokyo. They have little dogs because usually they have little homes. That's why you see a lot of small micro dogs, I guess you'd call them, chihuahuas that are like this big, and they're Tokyo's got a lot of that. I mean, it's the size of a guinea pig. Outside of Tokyo, in the countryside, you'll see bigger dogs, but most people don't have the time for them. I don't think a lot of people have dogs in general, but the Akita Inu is a special breed. Have you seen any Japanese dog breeds on Aogashima? No. I haven't seen any dogs. I don't think there's one dog on Aogashima, but lots of cats. Yeah, no dogs. Where does the island's power come from? There's no wind. There's no solar. This also goes to Eric Holleran's question. There's no wind farms here yet, but they're talking about doing that, or solar yet, but they're talking about doing that. There are some solar panels up here that power small lights and things like this, so it's getting there. But the island hasn't really changed that much over the decades. This island erupted 200 years ago, and there were people on the island. They evacuated. There's history, but it's not on the internet. They evacuated and then they came back and rebuilt the island. And yeah, a lot of the roads and a lot of the infrastructure really hasn't changed much over time. Just little by little, patchwork. The mayor of Tokyo is the governor of this island chain out in the Pacific, and the new mayor, Koike-san, is very, very open to helping the islanders here, and they're very happy about that. So they're going to be getting high-speed internet next year or the year after, you know, sometime before the Olympics. So a lot of things are going to start to change here. What one thing, this is from NZ17, New Zealand 17. I believe that NZ was New Zealand, right? What one thing would improve island life the most for Aogashima residents? That's hard. That's a hard question to answer. And that's the last question from everybody on Patreon. The one thing, you know, people are pretty content with their life here. I mean, I've noticed, I guess it was around the third day, I could see that there was a pattern to life living here on the island, and I think it has to be like that in a way. People are, they wake up at a certain time in the morning and they do their jobs, which is sort of scheduled every week. Everybody's got more than one job because things cost money off of the island, so they have to continuously do stuff. Like the lady who's in charge of the Yado, the inn where I'm staying, she works at the post office. She runs the inn. She has in front of the inn the only tobacco kiosk on the island. So she sells tobacco. And she sells the cards so underage people can't buy them, but they wouldn't anyways on this island. She also has another job. I forget what it is. Just everybody's got like 3 or 4 jobs. Some of the city workers, they also help out with the helicopter, the heliport. I've seen them working there, and then I go in the city office and they're behind the desk typing. So I mean, it's pretty interesting how life on the island is nobody's lazy here. And it's the opposite, I think, to Okinawa, or the image of Okinawa. People here are pretty hardworking. They may not go at lightning pace, but they're doing so many things, and they're doing things that require so many different skills. And that's impressed me the most. Everybody has more than one skill. It's like out there in Tokyo in the city, people have basically one skill that they master, and they utilize this for their careers. Like a career, right? A career. People here don't have careers, and they're doing like a jack of all trades. They're doing all sorts of different things with their lives. And that also breaks up the monotony of living on an island that's just maybe 3.5 kilometers by 2.5 kilometers wide. So being able to do so many different things not only earns you more money here, but it also makes life a little bit more interesting. And I've gotten that feeling from the people and the lifestyle over the last week here. I'm going back tomorrow. Tomorrow night. There's supposed to be a helicopter with space for me on it. So if I can get on that helicopter, I can get back to Tokyo on the 28th. So it takes a while to get back to the city. For everybody who's thinking about coming here to stay, and this is going to be in the episode, you really have to plan extra time to come to Aogashima. If you make the effort, this island is really worth it. I think that it's the view, the people, maybe not the food, but the view, the people, the adventure, the views of the sea, which you can see. I mean, it's just really, really incredible. And if you make the effort to come out here and you make the time, oh gosh, I've had like the adventure of the summer. I don't want to say lifetime because I've had some pretty good adventures. I've had some pretty good experiences in my life, but this has been one that I think I'm going to be taking with me for the rest of my life because it's just so unique. This island is just so unique, and it's a magical island. It really is. So thank you. I am drenched in sweat. I'm gonna go down and get a cold drink. If you want, leave a question down in the bottom in Patreon, and I'll try to answer you with any feedback about this video. Thanks everybody.